Good morning, everybody.
Happy Monday, buddy. How are you, big guy?
Timmy. I'm doing really well. I'm well rested. The Rays have won 3 in a row.
Doesn't that make you feel better? It makes me feel so much better.
It really affects my mood way more than it should, but that's fine. It's fine.
Hey, we've missed everyone. We've missed you guys. Andrew and I are not in the same space. I texted Andrew way in advance and said, "Hey, buddy, something tells me I'm going to be pretty tired."
Yeah, you look like you had a pretty busy Sunday, Tim.
It was a wild Sunday. We're gonna get into that and more because yesterday was Sunday. Mm-hmm. And this is the morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Timmy, you usually have to squeeze my knee under the table for us to be that synchronized. That was so good. We were right together.
It was a beautiful thing. CJ knows what's up because he's right. We are already having a good time. John, don't worry about being late. We were running a little bit late this morning. Andrew, turns out
when you say we were running a little bit late.
Here's the issue. You know, I do enjoy a good ice bath from time to time. Turns out it gets really hot in Florida. I got the ice bath for Christmas, so it was easy to keep it cold. I put in 55 pounds of ice this morning and still could not get it down to the desired temperature that I was after.
Tim, where did you get 55 pounds of ice?
Publix.
You just went to Publix and you bought 5 10-pound bags of ice or 11 5-pound bags of ice?
A couple of 16-pounders. I have a couple of ice cubes that are 8 pounds each in my freezer. I knew that wasn't going to be enough. So I went for it. Didn't work, but it still felt good. I mean, 65-degree water is still cold, but ideally you're at 59 degrees or lower.
Well, I'm very sorry for you, buddy. I know how much that meant to you.
Although I could have come and hopped in your swimming pool. Your swimming pool is probably about that right now.
Timmy, I used quite a bit of ice the other day. I don't know if the camera will quite do it justice, but my pinky is purple from the joint, and then it's all red at the tip. I was helping my father remove some tree stumps the other day, and he dropped one on me, and we were putting, that 1995 for the first 75 minutes Home Depot truck. He had rented one of those, the metal flatbed one, and so we were trying to get these stumps out, and we were putting them in the back of the Home Depot flatbed, and boy, did it just smash my finger. So
Youchers.
I took an ice bath as well, but only my hand. Only my hand took the ice bath.
How were you able to get through a Sunday with a pinky like that?
It was rough. Let me tell you.
You took one for the team.
Typing on Friday was very difficult, but I did it. I did it. I put on my big boy pants. Buttoning those big boy pants with, not being able to fully use my right hand was difficult. The worst part was we had 2 different families visiting that had been invited by people that I love dearly yesterday.
I love that.
So I'm doing lots of handshaking, and that handshaking, because it's right there on the joint, right where the grip is.
Ouch.
It was a painful Sunday, but I got through, Tim.
I'm proud of you. Hey,
Jesus' name.
Boys and girls, it's Monday. My name's Tim. This is Andrew. If this is your very first time joining us, where have you been? We've literally been doing this every Monday for, I don't know, 200 and what?
6 years, 5. I mean, we're more than 6 years old. I think we average out to like 45 Mondays a year for 6 years. It's a lot.
It's wild. Been a lot. I love this. People are already chiming in. CJ says, "Look at you, Andrew, making through."
Listen,
you made it through the attacks of the enemy. They tried to get you down, but you said, "Not today, Satan. I'm going to overcome."
You think a pinky injury is not going to hamper you, but it hurt.
John has a good point. He said, "That's what drawstring pants are for." I have a pair, Andrew, if you need them.
Something tells me our waists are slightly different sizes. Here's the problem with me.
Ben says, "Andrew, you're an inspiration to us all." He is. He's persevered. He's pushed through.
Here's the problem with
I'm
me
inspired.
and drawstring pants. I'm 5'6". I'm not very tall. I am a 34 in jeans and about a 36 in dress pants. So I need a medium size inseam when it comes
256 times, Andrew. 256 times we've done
there
this.
You go. I need a medium inseam for drawstring pants, but I need a large waist, and they just don't make them that way. So if I am wearing drawstring pants, they're either really uncomfortable around the waist, or I look like what was homeboy's name with the white dreads, a la Tim, and the Janko pants that was the speaker at every conference a couple decades ago.
Shane?
What is his name? Yes, Shane Claiborne.
Shane Claiborne.
If I'm wearing pants that fit my waist, I look like Shane Claiborne, and if I'm wearing pants that fit my inseam, I look like a sausage. So I'm gonna stick with the button pants, and I'll tough through it with the pinky injury.
Andrew, Erica's wondering, can you bend the finger? Like how bad is it?
I can. The issue is not the finger itself. It is right here. It's the joint.
Ouch.
But I mean, look, even my phone is blurring it out because it doesn't want you to see it. It's that scary.
It's that graphic. Zach says consistently crushing it, fellas. Wow, that's high praise.
It was an instant blood blister. But Timmy, I made it through.
Andrew,
I made it through.
Our friend Ronald is back. It's been way too long. He hasn't been able to catch us
long.
live for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Wow. Do we even know each other anymore? Yes. John, do you not remember Jinkos? Of course you remember Jinkos. He knows. He remembers.
I talked to Ronald the other day. It was very exciting. I was coming back from a coffee shop that I remembered that I had talked to him on the same drive a few months ago. And so I just thought, hey, I'm going to call you just to say, hey, buddy. And it was a beautiful, beautiful
Andrew,
thing.
I think there was something else
2 days
exciting.
later, my pinky got crushed.
Because I was reading the show notes, and you guys had like a pretty happening Sunday down in Safety Harbor Land. So I think we all need to know, how did Cinco de Mayo go at Safety Harbor Community Church?
Cinco de Mayo went so good, Tim, because it was just an excellent Sunday. We on last Sunday, April 28th, I believe, we were talking after service with Joan, and she was signed up to do some of the food stuff, or she was taking over some of the food stuff after church because not a lot of people had signed up. Typically, 2 or 3 people will be like, oh, I'll bring this. And we have 65-70% of our congregation that stays after church most Sundays to eat and drink coffee and hang out. And so you need a couple people. And I was like, hey, you know what? I haven't done anything in a while. Let me make some food. So Timmy, I went all out. And let me tell you, when you are doing a whole lot of baking and cannot grip a spatula with your right hand, you're just serving the Lord. It was tough. But my wife and I did 2 like egg casseroles. She did a French toast casserole. Then I scrambled an extra 40 some eggs to do egg tacos, or breakfast tacos. So we had the meat and the cheese and the whatever else you put in a taco, guacamole and salsa and that kind of stuff, with the very, very fluffy scrambled eggs, all that there. The problem is 2 problems. Problem number 1 is I always think I'm not that busy on a Sunday morning. Of course, I can spend an hour in the kitchen before I start preaching, and that's just never the case. The other problem was that I bought the cheapest throwaway casserole pans that I can, and I got home and my wife said, why didn't you get the ones that were just a little bit bigger? These are too small for the recipes. And I said, wife, you took a vow to love, honor, and obey me. I'm going to need some respect right now. I did not buy the wrong casserole dishes. And she said, you are absolutely right. I'm so sorry for ever questioning you. And then I made the casseroles in the dishes, and the casseroles were way too big, and they sloshed all over the back of my car as I was driving to church on Sunday morning.
Melissa, if you're watching this later, feel free to chime in at any point.
So she's not watching right now because
she might watch it later.
She might, but
she can say I told you so.
My car smells so bad, Tim. I wish you were here with me so I could make you get in my car to go to lunch afterwards, because it smells like someone made a breakfast casserole and it sloshed all over the back of my car. It was gross. It was terrible.
I'm glad you guys had a fantastic meal.
CJ says we had so much food. It was great because it started with, there's not a lot of people. So I was like, I'll step up and do some stuff. And then 4 or 5 other people did. We didn't even have enough room on the tables for all the food we had. It was great. Every church should eat together every Sunday.
People can't get over the pinky. CJ says, my wife wrote a short story in high school about breaking her pinky after hitting her brother. It was titled, My Pinky Goes Down. Can't wait to read your book with said title about persevering through the trials of ministry. Coming soon. My pinky
Tim, I have
goes
to
down.
grip
Look at that.
my coffee like
Guys,
I'm trying to be fancy because
he can't
the
even
grip
wrap his...
strength just isn't there.
I'm so glad you preach while sitting down. I don't know how you would have ever made it
I
through
could not have
yesterday.
stood through that.
There's
I
no
couldn't
way.
have done it. I had to hold
Matt-
my Bible with my left hand.
Matt says, Dad Law says, cut it off and duct tape the wound. That could
At
work.
one point, I thought, would it be easier to just lose the pinky than to go through all that I was going
Erica's
through?
a big fan of the drawstring yoga pants. That could work. Ronald says, Tim, how's the gallon size? Okay, look, I love oversized things, so I found an oversized glass, and I put my protein shake in the oversized glass this morning just because I like oversized things. I can't help myself.
That's
Matt says,
spectacular,
we
man.
found our band name of the day. Here we go. Sloshy casseroles.
But that's the whole point.
Also,
of a,
hang on. No. Matt's right here,
Okay.
Andrew. Matt says, speaking to his wife that way, now we know what happened to his pinky. Just
First
saying.
of all, I would never actually speak to my wife that way unless I was very clearly wrong about something because, as I say in Preaching 101, never make yourself the hero or the victim, only the idiot or the villain of the story.
That's good.
And so in that situation, I was the idiot. But no, my wife
Accurate.
wasn't there. I had to text her all about it. And she was like, why are you – she's like, do you realize how hard my day is all day, every day? If you don't know, my wife teaches in a very specialized special ed class. Like she comes home with bites and scratches sometimes. And so when I'm like, oh, my pinky hurts, she would be like, yeah, I had to stop a kid from getting naked and running through the hallways. So my day was hard too. She would not feel sympathy for my pinky.
So, Andrew, you guys eat basically every Sunday together as a church family, but on special occasions like Cinco de Mayo, does it just go to the next level? Like everyone jumps into that one?
Sometimes, there are some Sundays that multiple people will like that. I would say probably 4 or 5 times a year we have a holy cow, there's a whole lot of food here Sunday. And it typically happens after oh man, there's no one signed up for next week kind of thing. And so then a bunch of people do stuff. But I don't think anyone has ever left hungry. But yesterday was a Sunday when we were trying to send people home with leftovers. So before 2020, we started with just, coffee, bagels, donuts kind of thing. And the bagels are still delivered every Sunday morning. And I think 80% of the bagels went home with the Larson family because people were like, we're just gonna eat all the other stuff and not the bagels.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then
Hey, if you're looking for
there
a
are
great
other Sundays
church,
where
looking for a
everything
great
is
church
taken.
in the Scranton, PA area, I've got one for you. City Lights Church. They have raw wings at potlucks. City Light says someone brought raw wings to a potluck with a note saying, quote, microwave for a few minutes. So if you're looking for a great church in the Scranton, PA area, we see you, City Lights Church. Don't forget to cook those wings.
So our kitchen that we have here at church, we have 8 burners on the different ranges, and my wife has never cooked with gas. And so we were trying to heat up the sausage that had been cooked the night before. And she was like, you know what? I heard the clicking and all this stuff with the gas. And I just thought, if I do this wrong, I'm going to blow up the church in the middle of a service. I'll just use the electric skillet that we have. It was very funny because she's like texting me as I'm saying amen at the end of the sermon saying, so I was going to do this. And then I realized I don't actually know how to use all of the things in the church kitchen. Our church kitchen is very, very large.
It's robust. I would say it's robust.
I would say our kitchen is disproportionate to the size of our church.
That is accurate. Erica,
Yeah.
great point here. She says, hear that, Matt, idiot or villain? See, Andrew understands. That's a great comment because, Andrew, you've talked about this a lot when it comes to personal stories in sermons. I think it's a great avenue to take.
the bad guy.
We've had friends who have not done this and have gotten themselves in a lot of trouble because of this. So
If you're the hero of your sermon illustration, you
every
are
time, like every now and then it's okay, but it can't be over and over and over. Like that's just not, not a good look.
Or also if it's a woe is me, life is so hard, that's not going to get buy-in from people either. But if it's
Max,
I really stepped in this one, that is what people want to hear. That's what people can relate to.
We had a mom's event on Friday. We had a dad's men's prayer breakfast on Saturday. Max says no shame in living off ministry leftovers. Look, there were leftovers at both of the events we had at Lakeview over the weekend. We had several events actually, but I'm with you, Max. No shame in living off ministry leftovers. Laura says salmonella healing service at 6. That's just in case you forgot to put those wings in the microwave.
If the wings did not get microwaved quite as long as they needed to be microwaved, salmonella healing service. My small intestine just clenched at the thought of that.
Ronald says, I've heard of pre-cooked, but uncooked, not good for a potluck. Hey, John.
Again, egg casserole. You make it the night before and you put it in the fridge, but then you still have to cook it the next morning.
This is a good comment here. So if you're in the Greenville, South Carolina area, John Perone's getting ready to move up there. So if you're looking...
John, I'm going to be in South Carolina next weekend.
He's looking for a Lakeview-ish style church, expository preaching. If you know of a good church in the area, shoot John a DM. We're going to help him find a great church. We're going to miss him dearly at Lakeview.
My sister,
but we're going to help you find a great church, buddy.
That has those the youth pastor that gave out the I Heart Hot Youth Pastors stickers. So if you
remember that,
so my sister and brother-in-law are still members. So if you guys want to go check it out.
That might
John,
not be.
Hit me up, buddy. It's in Greer, not Greenville. We'll have to get together privately and figure out where in Greenville you are. Turns out it's a pretty sprawling area.
We'll find him something. Matt says, sounds like Dwight Schrute bringing food to a potluck. Dwight would definitely do something like that. CJ says, what if
wings? He would bring the whole goose to the potluck.
What if you rebuke someone for 40 minutes? How about that for a sermon? I mean,
that's a long sermon. I mean,
you've
first of all, it
preached
should be
40 minutes.
32.
Don't even.
I have. I've preached.
You always talk like this.
Then
I'll hop on the live stream and Andrew's going 55 minutes again.
That's ridiculous. I have never gone 55 minutes in my life. Never once.
CJ says, I'm sure there's plenty of beard-toting, tank top, and croc-wearing pastors. How dare you, CJ?
At first, I was like, man, what kind of redneck pastor are they talking about? And then I was like, oh, wait.
Wow.
Oh, wait. They're actually talking about Tim. I get it now.
That's hurtful.
I thought it was like, you go down to those swamp people, you'll find someone that looks like that. No, turns out you can just go to Trinity, Florida and find someone that looks like that.
Ouch. Speaking of Trinity, Florida, Andrew, Lakeview Church had an eventful weekend of ministry.
You did, Tim.
It was fun. It was fun.
Drone footage?
I'm not even doing the drone footage. We've got a guy who just brings his drone to church every Sunday, loves flying. But I'll back up to Friday because on Friday we had our mom's event, and Stephanie, my wife, was hosting it. She was in charge of hosting this particular one. She doesn't host everyone, but they rotate who hosts which one. So, of course, I was helping with setup duty. So I texted out to the dads, hey, if any dads happen to show up to the mom's event, you are required to disc golf with me. I had a handful of dads show up. We played 12 holes of disc golf. We had a whole lot of fun. Looked like the moms were rocking and rolling. The
important question is what did you shoot and did you win?
I did not win. I'm still trying to get down to par. I'm typically 4 to 6 over, sometimes double digits over. I'm just not very good yet, and I'm playing with guys who, turns out, have been throwing discs longer than I have.
Tim, imagine trying that with this little piggy.
That would be tough.
It would not be easy.
No, that would be very, very, that would be very difficult. So then on Saturday, we had our men's prayer breakfast, which went amazing. Andrew, you said you guys know how to eat, but did you have pecan-crusted French toast casserole?
We did not. We had 2 French toast casseroles, one plain, one berry, but no one had pecans on them. Also, do you say pecan and not pecan?
What do you say?
I mean, I don't eat either. But I say pecan.
Pecan. Do you say tomorrow or tomato? Is that how that goes?
Yes, that's exactly how it is.
We ate good on Saturday, and then Andrew, we didn't just celebrate Cinco de Mayo on Sunday. We celebrated Cinco de Baptismo on Sunday. We had 5 baptisms at Lakeview, and if you know,
I saw the pictures. But so was that all one service, or did you say, hey, you wait dripping wet till the next service so we can get your picture with everybody else?
So we encourage everyone at first service, hey, come back for second service. We're going to have our baptisms right after second service. So what happens is first service is typically lighter, and then second service is, It was standing room only. We had to bring in the extra chairs because
I
we
love
just,
it.
we also had a baby dedication, actually 2 baby dedications in the same service. So people had family members and friends. And what was awesome about that is the family who had their babies dedicated, mom and dad got baptized right after the service.
That's
so it was
cool.
It was so awesome. So it was a whole celebration for the family.
A cool thing.
So baby dedication plus baptisms for the same family. So and it was
That typically equals a high attendance Sunday, Tim. If I'm doing some math in my head, that's a good way to invite some people.
I saw the numbers. I posted on my Instagram today. 505 of my closest friends showed up to church yesterday. It was pretty cool. We had a
not
blast.
to flex, but
that was
way to go, Tim.
Like Lakeview doesn't. Yeah. Usually people leave this time of the year, and they are leaving.
Tim,
but yeah,
I'm just saying because you can't flex. You're not allowed to say it, but I remember the number of members who voted on you way back in 2019. There were not 500 people there that day.
There were not 500 people.
So there were
500 people.
I don't think there were 100 voting members that showed up that day, but
yeah,
things are blowing and going in Lakeview land. I love it.
Ronald says con as in pecan. Matt, okay, this might be a good way to remember.
He says he was talking about Shere Khan as in the tiger
con. Matt says a pecan is a can
Tailspin.
You pee in. So maybe pecan is wrong. It's pecan. Otherwise, you're peeing in a can.
See, I thought it was what's the difference between a rich girl and a poor girl? A rich girl has a canopy over her bed. A poor girl has a canopy under her bed. That was how I remembered that one. I didn't realize it was about pecans and pecans. That makes sense. I get it now. I will.
So Ronald's wondering when is Tim going to turn the church around? Ronald, we're still praying through that.
We're not sure that he's the right guy for the job at this point, and I'm just speaking for several of the elders that were there when he was voted on. He's a bit young and inexperienced, and
CJ, this is great. They had 6 kids dedicated yesterday. I love that. We had talked about, so this is interesting. We talked about having a Mother's Day baby dedication Sunday, but it's hard to do that when families kind of say, hey, this is a good day for me because I've got family coming in town, as opposed to the church saying, actually, would this be a good day for you? So we typically let the families decide on the Sunday, but I like the idea of having one big day of, hey, today we're going to
big dedication Sunday.
Is that what you guys did, CJ, or did you just have randomly 2 or 3 families?
It just worked out that several young families got together and said, hey, this works for us. Plus, Andrew, again, if you're like that Church in the Office episode, you don't have to feed everybody that way if it's all the families coming in together.
Andrew, you mentioned your pinky injury. There's something going wrong with me right now. I think what's happening is I've been ministering a little bit too much. I've been inviting too many guys to play disc golf over the last few days. It takes about an hour.
Tough issue.
It takes about an hour to play the course. So we have a group chat, and I just text, hey guys, I've got an hour to spare. I'm up at the church. If anybody wants to come play, and just about every time someone's like, yeah, I'll be there. And so I feel like, well, we have to minister, right? As pastors, this is literally part of our job.
It's a ministry of presence.
I noticed on Friday my midsection was a bit tight, and I could not figure it out. I wasn't having any digestive issues. Everything was fine. And then I realized I've been throwing a disc for several hours a day, every day for several days. That could be an issue.
Do you have the Brandon Lau oblique injury? Is it going to be a nagging oblique for the whole season?
The good news is if my score is bad, I'll just blame it on my oblique injury.
That's the good call there. That's what you want to do at least. I am nervous for you. I don't want it to negatively impact your score, but I want you to keep throwing that disc with the fellows.
Well, Matt says, what? Not the right guy. Well, then he cut his hair for nothing. That is a little bit of a throwback there. Tim's hair is a whole nother podcast episode.
Oh, boy.
CJ says we did one big one. We're planning another one in the fall because we have 5 couples having babies this summer.
Cool.
CJ, speaking of baby land, we're feeling it at Lakeview. We had 3 babies born last week. And get this is pretty crazy. 2 of those babies were born on the same day in the same room, one after the other.
Do you think part of that is because you had that Let's Get It On Sunday in September? Is that what it was? That was that weird sermon theme that you had that I was like, Tim, that's not appropriate, but you went for it anyway. Do you think that's part of this?
Did we bring back the 30-day sex challenge? Remember that? Who did that? That
When
was
Ed
the
Young
weirdest.
was on the roof.
That was the weirdest church thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Churches were so weird at the beginning of the internet age when it was hey, anybody and everybody can pay attention to us, so let's try to get people to pay attention to us. I'm so glad we're not doing that.
That was bizarre. So bizarre.
I mean, I'm all for the impact of that challenge personally.
Sure.
I don't know that it would be a sermon series that I would preach.
Probably not. Max says we have baby dedication annually on Mother's Day. Okay, so this was what we were thinking too, to help people with planning. So if you tell them out long enough, then they can invite their friends. I get that. But then we also have them sporadically throughout the year if folks are feeling called to it. Yep, I like that. I think that's pretty smart.
Tim, I'm not going to be at church on Mother's Day. I'm going to be at a church. I think I'm going to hang out with. I'm going to go to Delmar's church up in Sumter, South Carolina.
Have you ever missed a Mother's Day?
No.
I don't think I've ever.
Believe it or
in
not,
my
I'm
life.
not the person that schedules the commencement ceremonies at Liberty University, and so we're going up Wednesday, and then the different graduation ceremonies.
Did they really schedule it for Mother's Day weekend?
Yeah. So I've got
weird.
Thursday and Friday stuff, and then we're driving because there's 6 Larson, so we're not flying that trip.
Wouldn't the next week be perfect? It's in between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, so you've got that lull of non-holiday weekends. But
then you have the weird. Every school in America is graduating either last Sunday of April or last weekend of April or 1st of May. So it's already weird that it's the second weekend of May that they're doing it. They should have done it this past week. But I think it was like with
Liberty is big enough to have 2 ceremonies, one in the winter, one in the spring.
I think they wanted to do it big on they want to do it big on the football field, so they need as many of their 20,000 plus graduates at once, which I get.
Crazy.
But yeah, it's
so you will be out of pocket on Mother's Day. I think. When's the last time you missed a Sunday period? You've been preaching every week for 6 years now.
I have not missed a Sunday since July of last year.
That's bad.
And that's
unhealthy. This is your friend calling you out on national television.
National
this is it. This is an international. This is an international broadcast. I'm calling you out right here, Solomon style, Ecclesiastes style. That is not healthy. That is not healthy.
I am not here Mother's Day. This Sunday is my first Sunday out of 7 between now and Thanksgiving that I will not be preaching. So it's kind of exciting. I have not had this many Sundays. I think I've preached an average of 49 or 50 Sundays a year in the 7 years that I've been here. And so to have 7 Sundays off in the next 6 months is pretty crazy.
Max, you're right. This is a surprise burnout intervention. You need to be taking those days off a little bit more frequently. 36 in a row is
what I would say about that.
For you, for your church.
However, but Tim, you and I both know
everyone involved
that it is way more work for guys like you and me to miss a Sunday than to be at church a Sunday.
So here,
I think when I was kind of announcing my sabbatical at our annual members meeting 6 or 8 weeks ago, I said this is for the health of the church, to not depend on me, for me to realize that the church can survive without me. However, with me being gone on Mother's Day, I spent a good bit of time yesterday morning making sure people can do the live stream without me. It's not just I'm not preaching that week. There's so many other things that you and I do on a Sunday morning besides just preaching that need to be handed off when we're not here.
And for the record, Andrew does frequently take vacations. He does getaways. He just does them in between Sundays and not always over a Sunday. So you do still have time away.
Yeah.
You just
last
you need to get better about taking a Sunday.
On a whim, I flew up to Arkansas with all 4 of my children with about 3 days' notice just because we could. So with being the only full-time person on staff, I am pretty good about being able to work from my laptop whenever. So I will go over to Disney in the middle of the week with my family. I will, pop up for a 4 or 5 day trip somewhere, but I'm typically here on Sundays. But 7 out of the next 24 Sundays, I am not, which is wild.
That is crazy. That's crazy.
Like, I was joking with Shirley this morning. I'm basically the part-time pastor for the next 6 months. I'm pumped.
Weird.
I'm ready.
So I also spent this past week planning out the summer preaching schedule. So I've got 2 Sundays in June that I will not be preaching, and 2 Sundays in July that I will not be preaching. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I've preached, I think, 17 out of 18 Sundays now, which, I mean, obviously doesn't compare to your, 57 or 62 or 30, 36, however many that was. But for me, that's a lot. So I know I'm due. I'm ready for a break. So trying to get in those summer dates with the family. One of those is camp. One's a trip with Steph. 2 of those are with the fam. So I'm excited to have a little bit of time and refresh, recharge. You know the drill. You need these things.
I do. I love it.
CJ has a question for Andrew. Does Liberty do a coat of many colors for ministry doctorates since real doctors get white ones? Wow.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I've never actually attended the ceremony before, but I know I have a whole bunch of very heavy regalia in a box in my bedroom that I'm supposed to bring with me to put on.
Have you tried it all on?
Well, I have. I put the night it showed up at my house, I put it all on and walked over to my parents' house, which is across the yard from us. Yep. And their dog just growled at me for about 10 minutes. It's very ridiculous. It's a lot.
Andrew,
I've worn the square hat.
Yes.
3 times now. Well, several times. But the doctoral tam is just a little bit different. The poofy hat, it looks like a Chef Boyardee hat that got a demotion. So yeah, I've put it on. It's silliness.
There's something I've been meaning to ask Andrew. You and I have chatted a little bit about this. I'm indifferent. I don't know. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. You've gone all in. You've been posting sermon clips with you preaching.
I have.
With the captions, it's looked really pretty. Some people have reached out. What are you using to do that? Are you doing hours and hours of editing? What's going on there? So would you mind enlightening us? If you haven't and you don't, you need to follow Safety Harbor Community Church on the socials. You'll hear something very...
You don't need to.
No. You will hear something very inspirational from Andrew, now on a weekly basis.
So
I look forward to it. Teenagers are sharing it. It's the weirdest thing.
What started with you and me looking at other podcasts on the internet doing stuff, and we're thinking, hey, should we actually try to let people know that we do this besides the couple dozen people that we can count on each and every week? And so we're using Opus Clip, and if you're curious, we can send you a link to it. It's free for the first, I think, 100 minutes or something. That they'll do videos for the first, I think, week or something like that. But yeah, we had kind of debated with the Practically Pastoring boys, like, is it weird and self-promo-y to share stuff? And I would never share that from the personal Andrew Larson account. But what we've kind of landed on, and I went through one of my elders, I was like, hey, here's what I sent other churches' socials. The issue is that we run our church's social media accounts, and so it's not just somebody from the church's social media team posted this, but it's actually me going through and doing it. But it's great because Opus Clip, I put the YouTube link to the service in to Opus Clip, and I kind of drag, hey, start here, end here, and it'll spit out 25-ish clips from a 32-minute sermon of, hey, we think these would be good things, and they're, you choose what you want the font to look like and stuff. But it takes legitimately 2 minutes. So I kind of scroll through or scrub through and kind of look for, here's a moment that would be a 2 or 3 sentence summary that I want to share. And so it was kind of like, ooh, this is icky. Do I want to do this? But like you said, it was like the young adults and the teenagers in the church were the ones that were sharing it. So it's been kind of weird. And it feels really weird to be the one self-selecting, and we're not doing the everyday. When it spits out 25 clips in a week, it's kind of, hey, should I be sharing this every day? Typically on Tuesdays, I'm posting hey, here's the sermon recap in case you missed Sunday. Or the sermon reminder. Here's a 55-ish second recap of what we talked about Sunday morning. And yeah, the responses have been good because, again, I was apprehensive going into it. I felt kind of icky and self-promo-y, but the response both from church people and outside people have been, no, that you should be doing this. I used some of my credits and dropped your sermon in from last week, and Tim, you weren't interested. You were like, hey, thanks for spending your credits on me.
No,
you
look,
jerk.
I went through it, and the clips were actually really good. Like, there were some really solid things in there from the sermon that I preached, but I just can't get over. I guess it's because I run the church's socials. Like, if someone else were running the socials, like you said, of course they're going to post like videos of the pastor preaching. Like, that's a
Of
super
the pastor
normal.
preaching. That's the weird thing. Is like if we're wearing multiple hats,
Like, that's a normal
so you
thing
kind
to
of
do.
have to.
I
Yeah,
I actually like it. I love watching yours. Max says he uses the free version and covers up the watermark with our church
that's
logo.
so funny.
So that is one way to
Max,
get around having
it's-
to spend actual dollars. I love it. That's
It's
ministry
like,
brains.
It's like $10 a month.
It's ministry math. Okay, CJ's got a legitimate question here for you, Andrew. Now that you're
I'm
doing
ready.
this, is it going to your head, and are you now writing sermons and highlighting what you know you're going to clip out later?
No, I drop the thing in and I see what it spits out, and I'm like, oh, okay. That said, if there's like something that you're really hoping, the service is, it's all AI. It's crazy that, again, we used to
Skynet.
go through our podcast and like try to find something funny or something clever and do stuff, and it was hours of my life because Tim just shows up and says, all right, let's record. But it was very intensive. This is pretty easy, but if there are like keywords that you want it to look for, you can put those in.
That's
and
cool.
It will look for clips with those keywords in, or that, one sentence. So it's pretty crazy.
Laura says potential
How
visitors
easy it
will check out a church's socials to see what to expect. I think it's a good idea. Ronald says, Tim, I heard myself and I sounded good. Look, it sounded fine. It looked good. I just didn't post anything about it. Okay, now I'm getting called out. Tim, you're the senior pastor. Your social media is your front door, dude. Post the clip. Get over it. Fine.
See,
we all need
Tim,
to be
this is-
called out for the junk in our
This
lives,
is an
Andrew.
accountability issue.
It is.
It's
Thank you guys.
spectacular.
Thank you guys for holding
And
me accountable. Okay, what about this
It
one? This is something
so much
Andrew,
easier than I thought it was going to be.
We've talked about this. How many are you posting? Wasn't this on the Ick episode? This was on the Ick episode. Yes.
I'm posting one typically on Tuesday.
But he sends me about 7 and he's like, wasn't this so good? And I'm like, yes, Andrew, it was very, very good.
That is a lie.
I provide the affirmation. He doesn't need the hearts in the comments. I'm the one that hearts the video and does a couple of comments every week for him. So
that is untruthful. I was going to make a joke, but I'm not gonna. Which is funny
wisdom.
because we laugh about this
Maturity.
because the same service I'll drag this podcast into.
Yep.
And I'll send you that link. You're like, oh man, those are gold. Let's post this one, this one, this one. We have no issue posting clips of both of us talking at all. That's like, oh, that's fine. But it's it's kind of
the
like
one I know.
It's me up there by myself that makes me feel icky. But again, it seems to have connected. There are more people that will watch a 1-minute clip than will watch a 30-minute sermon.
CJ says more than one's a little much. Just post the whole sermon at that point. Ronald says that's a lie. Andrew sends Tim 10 to 20 clips.
I send him the link that Opus Clips spits out of this podcast. Like, hey, here's all of them to talk about.
As our boy Solomon said, this too is vanity. Look, it's all hevel anyways. Might as well post whatever you want at this point, I guess.
Might as well.
The Lord does indeed detest lying. Easy win. Team, here you go. Team teach. Voltron this thing. Andrew, should we do this?
Let's go.
Should we
have
tag
the
team a
split
sermon?
screen thing at both of our churches.
Oh my gosh.
With
you sitting down and me standing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Except we'll go to each other's churches, so I'll sit down at Lakeview and you'll stand up. It makes
Max
sense.
says, when I learned how heavily the algorithm takes into account location, it was an easy justification and makes it feel way less self-promoty and much more, this is interesting, like a local outreach tool. I actually didn't know about that. Full disclosure, I'm not the primary communicator. Interesting.
Here is what I've discovered from the Instagram algorithm. Because our church account is set up as like a small
true story,
business account
CJ.
or whatever.
I tried.
You can like click on it, and it'll tell you how many accounts have seen it, how many plays or whatever. and the interactions with our just still pictures on Instagram have gone up, have more than doubled since I started posting videos regularly, because Instagram's trying to build their video stuff. So they will show your stuff to more people if you are posting video as well.
Here we go, Andrew.
So,
I've got a Lakeview attender saying, can we please have Andrew guest preach? So, Erica, we've been talking about this. We've been talking about a Sunday swap.
For years.
Sunday swap. I think that might be the push that we need. We're going to swap Sundays for a Sunday coming up real soon. We're going to pick it out. It's going to happen. Andrew will be preaching
you can
at
just
Lakeview
start the
Church.
live stream for me, since you know how to use the same software. And
I sure do. And you won't have to worry about that at Lakeview. We've trained our volunteers. So they've got it covered there.
Go.
And you can show up with your best sermon ever. So, Andrew, do you have
I'm
like
pretty
a top
sure you
5?
have preached all of my best sermons ever on it.
It's possible. But that was a long time ago. That might have been in the youth group. It's possible. So could you show up? I think, like, if we had to do this on a whim, like let's say Saturday, like, hey, we got to swap Sundays, we could probably pull out of the Dropbox something, don't you think?
Yeah, we could. Except most of my best standalone, this is a standalone thing. Because I don't write that way anymore.
Standalones are tough.
I'm always
do a lot
preaching.
In Ronald says then you could post videos of each other, and it would feel a lot less icky. And
that would
CJ,
be great.
this is the big deal. But you have to preach using the other style. So Tim will sit, Andrew will stand and yell and possibly cry. Can you do it, Andrew? Can you invoke all of the emotions?
Do you know what? I was watching that
exactly,
video
Max.
of, I don't even know
I'm going to
what
sit,
player
Andrew's
it
going
was.
to stand.
It was that video of one of the UConn women's basketball players going in to thank Gino Auriemma before she went to the WNBA training camp for her rookie year, and that got me a little bit this morning. The the player going back to say thank you to the coach. So if I watched that video before I started,
then
maybe
that would probably
or that Publix commercial where the girl calls her stepdad dad instead of by his first name at her wedding for the first time.
Publix, man.
I would have to watch a couple Publix commercials, and then I'd be ready to cry. I think I'd be ready to cry.
Ben, I wasn't going to go there, but Ben absolutely went there. Hopefully someone makes him route the mic cable properly. We have a sound guy that won't stand for that, Andrew. He will force you to route the cable properly.
I'd have to loosen my tie. Maybe I should just not put my tie on until I get to church. But then I'm traveling. I'm going to have my shirt tucked in, but not a tie on. Come on, that would look ridiculous. So it'd be tough. Timmy, I want to bring up something else. I know we're getting late, but there's two kind of funny things happened this week. On Saturday, I got an email. We talk all the time about, are we going to keep the live stream? Are we going to kill the live stream? We post live stream as churches. I got an email from a retired pastor who is in his 80s on Saturday, and his family would vacation to Safety Harbor for years and years, and on a whim, I think he was Googling to see if the Paradise Restaurant still existed. And then when he was looking, which Tim, you had breakfast there last week,
and I will have breakfast there with my daughter next Tuesday.
There you go. It's a great little spot in Safety Harbor. So he was Googling the Paradise Restaurant and saw us on the map. It was oh, I've never heard of that church, and clicked on it. And he's been watching our live stream since October. He says, I'm a retired pastor. I'm mostly homebound these days. He's in his 80s. And so he just sent me a random email about a sermon in Habakkuk that we had done 6 or 7 months ago. And I just thought it was the craziest thing, because, we just are always kind of debating, should we move and only focus on the gathered church or whatever? But here's a guy who is in his 80s, was Googling a restaurant in our area, and has been watching our church's live stream for 6 months.
That is crazy. And what's weird is that's now the norm. So most people I've talked to, including the family that got baptized yesterday, had the babies dedicated, they said, look, we attended Lakeview for about 6 months online before coming in person. So it's a whole new way to visit and to find the church that you're feeling led to and called to. Andrew, people can't get over this idea. Everyone wants to know, is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? John says, if you're swapping, I like this idea. You should also dress as the other pastor dresses. Ben says, imagine all the likes from his promo clips if he actually routed the cable properly. Wow. CJ says, no necktie, you're dressing like Tim. Skinny drawstring suit with a t-shirt.
No. No.
Andrew, he has to draw the line somewhere.
Come on.
And that's it.
At some point, you have to be the grown-up in the room.
Why?
Tim, but
we've never been the grown-up in the room, Andrew. Why would we start now?
And the median age of both of our churches are significantly we're not the grown-ups in the room.
No.
So, but here's the funny side of that live stream conversation. When it's like you never know who's watching. Yesterday was Sunday. I had an opening illustration about how, you don't get to pick and choose what gets repeated. You don't get to pick and choose, what echoes throughout your history. And I had a story about my my aunt whose name is Duty. And so I was, when you have an aunt named Duty, there's so many jokes that can be made. And the whole point of it was my aunt's name is based off of what my mom heard my grandpa call her when she was little. And so it was, you never know who's watching. You never know who's paying attention. And Brad, our worship leader, gets up at the end of the sermon to, play the closing song. It's like, hey, Andrew, it turns out that your aunt has been watching on the live stream and has been commenting the whole service. So my aunt, who's a member of Calvary, where your daughter goes to school, one of the big Southern Baptist mega churches here in town, but she was on a cruise this week. And so they weren't in town. And so instead of doing the live stream at her church, she was, checking out our church. And
I love it.
There I was telling stories about her.
Did you give her a heads up? Did she know that was coming? Wow.
No.
I thought you must have, because I saw that on your socials and I was like, okay, she must have, you didn't even tell her.
It was, I wasn't being mean, but it was comparing Esau forgiving Jacob with Joseph forgiving his brothers. It's kind of the wrap up of our patriarchs series. And so it was this idea of Jacob saw grace, he saw forgiveness Joseph saw grace and saw forgiveness when Esau had every right to kill Jacob and their whole family. And then 30 years later, he did the same thing. So, what you say, what you do, you never know who's paying attention. And so I had said, you never know who's watching, you never know who's paying attention. We'll see. I haven't put it into Opus Clip yet, but we'll see.
That needs to be clipped out. That was just
this episode brought to you by Opus Clip. If you'd like to use it, I'm pretty sure we can get you a referral link. But it was really funny. I thought I had a few good moments during the sermon, but the biggest laugh of the day was from Brad. He was like, hey, Andrew, you know how you said you don't know who's watching you? Your aunt has been watching you this whole time. It was pretty great.
CJ says, so should we like each other's church socials and then share ideas, or is that more for the Practically Pastoring podcast? Why not?
I think that's a great idea.
That can
drop
be either
your
or.
Church social in there.
Drop the church social in there. And speaking of Practically Pastoring, Andrew, did you hear we're bringing back the Practically Pastoring Conference?
I've heard that it's supposed to be happening. It's
happening. It's coming.
Any specifics yet, because we're supposed to have a group planning session before we announce anything.
February at Lakeview Church of next year.
President's Day weekend.
Just throwing that out there. Yep. Laura says just clip out Andrew saying duty about 40 times. That duty.
The best part was I was talking about my Aunt Duty, but I talked about, she got her nickname from my mom, who was the second of 6 children. So I said duty. And then I said, so when you're number 2, because I was, again, talking about my mom, but I said number 2. And it's always the things that you don't intend to be funny that are always really funny.
That's funny. I like it.
It was good. It was good stuff, Tim.
Hey, it's afternoon. You guys got to eat lunch. I've got to make my kids lunch. I promised them some world-famous grilled cheese sandwiches, so we're going to go for it.
Tim, why aren't your kids at school today?
They're homeschooling. Every Monday.
But they're usually down here in Safety Harbor Land.
They, from time to time, don't make it down, so they homeschool from home. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they're in school. Monday, Wednesday, they homeschool. So
what you're saying is the real reason that you said you thought you might be tired this morning is because you knew that your kids weren't coming down, so why would you drive down? I get it.
Exactly. But hey,
Listen,
I'm going to make them some lunch. I might shoot the text out to the guys if anybody wants to meet up at Lakeview and maybe play around a disc golf in a couple of hours. I might be able to squeeze in an hour and just a little bit. So we'll see.
Tim, I can't. Again, not just the pinky injury, but it's a busy day for me. I'm praying at City Council later on tonight. And then tomorrow night before I leave for the trip, I am running the live stream for the Safety Harbor Elementary School spring concerts. So we are not just being in Safety Harbor, we are being for Safety Harbor all week long.
Hey, be praying for Andrew. He's got a pinky issue he's recovering from. He's going to attempt to pray tonight.
There's a blood blister. It's very bad. I've got to grip a steering wheel for like 11 hours on Wednesday. So we need traveling mercies and pinky mercies between now and then.
We'll be lifting you up, Brother Andrew. Enjoy your safe travels.
Hey, we didn't even talk about that pastor that almost got shot yesterday. We've got so much to talk about next week already.
That's wild. We'll talk about that next week. You guys got work to do. We got work to do. Go get it done. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week.
See ya.